I'm Unleashed Rap King of the Streets.
Greetings, YouTube. Elaine Unleashed back at you from right here at the Green Thumb Garden Channel, right here in the Grow Zone 8B in Tifton, Georgia. It's a balmy winter morning here at the Green Thumb Garden Channel YouTube. As you guys can see, I'm out here in a tank top. You can actually have on shorts here today if you preferred that, YouTube. It's overcast, windy, but it's quite balmy here. The current temperatures are around 67, 68 degrees or something here, YouTube. There's a huge storm approaching us here. So I wanted to get out here this morning and give you guys a quick peek at a propagation experiment that I've been conducting for approximately the past 30 to 35 days here in our high tonal greenhouse, YouTube. I recently took a total of about 8 cuttings from our hibiscus plants out in our front yard garden extended grow area, YouTube. We have both orange hibiscus and pink hibiscus. They're both the huge 8-inch blossoming variety of hibiscus plants, YouTube. But at any rate, YouTube, we recently took about 8 cuttings and we attempted to propagate those cuttings. It's been roughly 35 days since we began this propagation experiment, YouTube. And this morning, YouTube, we're actually going to be planting 4 of those cuttings. We had pretty good success propagating those cuttings. We actually potted several of those cuttings and gave those away to a few of our friends here in our area, YouTube. But at any rate, YouTube, I'm going to flip this camera around for you guys. Walk you inside of our greenhouse, grab that propagation jar we have in there with our hibiscus cuttings in it, bring it out to our back porch here, get it up on our preparation table, and show you guys what they currently look like, and then show you guys how we go about getting those guys potted up. Hang tight, YouTube.
All right, YouTube, as you guys can see, that sky looks terrible over there, and it is indeed coming this way, YouTube. So I'm going to make this as quick as possible. Bring you guys with me right quick and show you what I have growing on. This little tiny glass here is what we propagated our orange and pink hibiscus cuttings in, YouTube. As you can see, we have that plastic bag that we always use when we propagate out any type of cuttings here, YouTube, in water. And bring this back out to our back porch here now, YouTube. Get you guys up here with me and try to get this done before the storm actually reaches us here, YouTube. I'm gonna take this moment right now, get our camera set up on our tripod. That way I can go hands-free here and show you guys exactly what we have going on. Hang tight, YouTube. Alright, YouTube, we're back, and again, that storm is rapidly approaching, so I'm going to try to get this done as swiftly as possible. I'm going to remove this plastic bag here from our propagation jar here and show you guys exactly what we have growing on inside this glass here, YouTube. It's been, again, approximately 30 to 35 days since we've begun this propagation experiment, YouTube, and look at that. Bam! Take a look at how much new foliage has developed on all of our hibiscus cuttings here in this glass. When we took these cuttings, YouTube, we completely defoliated our cutting, as we do in all of our propagation experiments here, YouTube. I'm going to pull a couple of these cuttings out of this glass right now, YouTube, and show you the roots that are beginning to develop here on these remaining cuttings here, YouTube. I think we have a total of like 4 or 5 of these cuttings left, along with a couple of other cuttings from other plants here in this container here, YouTube. And just like fig tree roots or any other type of roots, when you propagate the YouTube, in the beginning stages, those roots can indeed be a little brittle, so you want to be careful with them. But indeed, these roots are big enough on all of these cuttings for us to go ahead and get these cuttings potted up. I'm going to replace, put them in separate containers in soil. We're going to take plastic bags and cover those containers up. We're going to water them in good and place them back out there in our high tonal greenhouse, YouTube. I'm going to reach in here right now and pull one of these cuttings out, YouTube. Take this one. We have a couple of larger cuttings in this jar over here, YouTube, and a couple of smaller cuttings. The smaller cuttings come from our orange hibiscus, and the larger cuttings come from our pink hibiscus, YouTube. Can you guys see that? I'm not sure if our current lighting situation is doing these roots much good, YouTube. We have a quite extensive root system that is formed on this particular cutting, YouTube. I'm gonna lay this to the side for 1 second here, gently, remove another one of these cuttings from this glass, YouTube, and show you what its roots are currently looking like. You guys see that, YouTube? We have tons, when I say tons, of roots on these cuttings, YouTube, and we're super excited about that. This is indeed, again, our first attempt at propagating hibiscus cuttings, YouTube. Those first two cuttings were our orange hibiscus. These last two cuttings are our, those first two cuttings were our pink hibiscus, and these last two cuttings are our orange hibiscus, YouTube. And take a look at that, guys. You see the extensive amount of roots that are formed on these cuttings. That is, again, indeed, while we're out here today. And you guys might be able to see that rain falling out there. YouTube, the rain has indeed made it here. It's pouring down out there, but indeed, our show must go on here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel. And we'll be indeed getting these 4 hibiscus cuttings potted up for you guys right now. Here we have our trusty Scuttles garden shovel here, and our trusty Scuttles garden shears here, YouTube. We have our favorite variety of rooting hormone. We have 3 of these plastic containers here, and 1 smaller clay container here, YouTube, that we're going to be using to get our cuttings potted up in, YouTube. First thing we're going to do is temporarily place our cuttings back in the water while we fill our pot with our grow media. Swing this camera around for you guys and show you guys our grow media for those of you who haven't really been following our channel for a while. We use a combination of Miracle-Gro garden soil, Miracle-Gro potting soil, and composted oak tree leaves, bark, stems, limbs, etc. as a grow medium when we plant our cuttings and virtually everything that we plant here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel, YouTube. Again, the rain is pouring down out there. We're gonna give our grow medium a quick stir here, YouTube. Get our containers filled with it. Sit that right there, make sure I got you guys in the frame here, and I do. And move our cuttings here to this end down here so you guys can see what we got going on here, YouTube. We're gonna take our 2 pink hibiscus cuttings and plant them first. So better look at those roots over here in the light, YouTube. I have our container filled about halfway, as you guys can see here, YouTube, and that rain is pouring down out there, guys. Move my wheelbarrow back a little bit and my camera, and hopefully I have you guys still in the shot here, YouTube. And get our setting in there, YouTube, and simply backfill our pot to the point at which roots have developed on this cutting. Quick and simple, easy procedure. We're not going to tamp that soil down very much around our cutting, YouTube. We're going to let the water, when we water this in, kind of settle that soil. Add a little bit more to that, YouTube. You got to look at what that looks like here in a second. And this is what our first hibiscus cutting looks like potted up. We'll just sit it over here temporarily in this rain over here and let that rain give it a taste as we pot up our remaining cuttings here, YouTube. Do that same thing. Put our container about to the halfway point here, YouTube, with our grow media. Take another one of our cuttings. And this little guy here, one of our orange hibiscus cuttings. Look at the roots on that guy, YouTube. That thing is covered with roots, and we're super excited about that. Again, it's our first attempt at propagating hibiscus cuttings. We use that same technique that we use when we propagate our big tree cuttings here, YouTube, to propagate our hibiscus cuttings. And it really, really, really worked out quite well for us here at the Green Thumb Gardening Channel YouTube. We did again propagate these cuttings inside of our greenhouse in water, a plastic bag over our container during the propagation process. This is what our second hibiscus cutting looks like. This is indeed, again, one of our orange hibiscus cuttings. This is our second pink hibiscus cutting here, YouTube, and just look at the roots on that guy. I'm gonna take our trusty Scuttles garden shears here, YouTube, make a fresh cut down there at the bottom of this cutting down there. Take off that excess stem that had begun to rot a little bit at the bottom down there, YouTube. And look at all of those roots. Same scenario. Take our container. Fill it roughly halfway with soil here, YouTube. Get our cutting down in that soil. And backfill the container. At least to the point where roots appear on our cuttings. This is our second orange hibiscus, pink hibiscus cutting here, YouTube. And on to our final orange hibiscus cutting, YouTube, and look at those roots on that guy. You guys see that? Again, it took us about 30, maybe 35 days to root these hibiscus cuttings in just plain tap water, YouTube. That's just plain tap water over there that these cuttings, I had these cuttings rooted in, YouTube. No additives, no preservatives. Again, we placed that plastic bag over our container. And we placed our container in a mostly shaded location. That location did get a bit of sunlight, YouTube, but overall not much. Again, same thing here. Simply backfilling our container to the point that roots appear on our cutting. That, YouTube. This is totally overcast here right now. It is raining. The rain is slacked off a bit. We're typically going to set our cuttings, YouTube, out in the rain here on our steps down here. Let the soil get somewhat saturated. Then we'll take our plastic bags, place them over our containers, and place our containers back out in our greenhouse. And we'll show you how we go about doing that in a few minutes. Hang tight, YouTube. Alright, YouTube, we're back. And this is what our 4 pink and orange hibiscus plants look like in their new containers. These first 3 are 1 quart containers here. This fourth one down here is a 1 pint container down here, YouTube. And what we're going to do now is simply take our plastic bags. We have 1 gallon plastic bags out here. We have some 1 quart plastic bags out here. We're going to take a bag and place over each one of these containers. They're Ziploc type bags. We're going to take a bag and place over each one of these containers. Leave that bag over these containers for about a week, maybe a week and a half, and then we'll eventually harden off our cuttings to the ambient temperatures and conditions here inside of our high tonal greenhouse, YouTube. So hang tight. I'm gonna get those bags placed over those containers, and I'll bring you guys back and show you what they all look like in just a few minutes. Hang tight, YouTube. All right, YouTube, we're back. Here we have our 2 pink hibiscus cuttings in 1 quart containers with our 1 gallon plastic bags covering those. And here we have our 2 orange hibiscus cuttings. This was in a 1 quart container. This is in a 1 pint container over here, YouTube. Again, they're all fully rooted, YouTube. We're gonna leave these cuttings in these plastic bags here, with the plastic bags over the containers here for about another week, maybe a week and a half. Give our cuttings a chance to adjust to being in this soil as opposed to being in water. We want to keep them in the same type of same greenhouse type of environment they were in when we had them in the water with that plastic bag covering them. So we're going to give them, again, YouTube, about another week, week and a half here in these containers, YouTube. And we'll bring you guys back at that time and show you guys what they're looking like at that time. And go ahead and remove these plastic bags and get our orange and our pink hibiscus plants hardened off to the ambient temperatures here inside of our high tunnel greenhouse. Thanks for watching, and if indeed you currently are watching this video, YouTube, on propagating hibiscus cuttings, and you're not already subscribed to the Green Thumb Gardening channel, please indeed take this moment to hit that subscribe button beneath this video, YouTube, that like button, that notification button, and be sure to share the video with your friends and family as well. Yeah, propagating hibiscus cuttings in our high tunnel greenhouse during the fall and winter months. Thanks for watching, YouTube.
Hallelujah, city do stay. I'm unleashed, rap king of the streets, ripping up another beat, and I still don't play. I flow smooth in my lyrics on time. All my haters in the crowd, it's live, but I leave them all quiet when I say what's on my mind. I ain't fell off, I won't stop. There is a diff on the corner of the top until my very last breath. I'm gonna give it all I got. Red eye thinking late night flight. Won't stop and tell us that I'm touching down in Cali, destination in the valley, and I'm feeling alright. I'm elevated, I'm a product of the sun. I'm top status, I'm a flowing apparatus. Got my haters talking chatter, but I still get it done. Everywhere I go, I still see pro. On the beat, see I'm walking down the street, high heels on their feet, almost wearing no clothes. I'm making money selling Ricos overseas. All in Ghana, I'll be smoking marijuana. You can find me down under, even in the Philippines. Like Ali, I'm a lion, I'm the greatest. I'm top notch, I can see outside the box. I'm making haters stop and watch because they know that I done made it.
Rewind, the gunshot means forward. Requested it, so we rewind.
Looking for me, you can find me in my lane. I stand tall, but I keep my circle smart. Don't let them lawyers get involved whenever I profit off my name. I'm full grown, I'm a lion in my prime. Treat my design, I mean the way I spit around. I'm about to make that hater feel me like I did the last time. Deep breath and I'ma drop another verse. No competition for this lion on a mission. If you want it, come and get it. I'ma hit you where it hurts. You need a minute, let my words marinate. It's been a minute, I didn't mean to make you wait. I'm about to rip it straight to shreds and I ain't gonna hesitate.